Happy fall.
Happy fall. It's a sunny day out here in Connecticut. It's a great time. I really enjoy fall. I spent a lot of time on the yard over the weekend. By and large, it's looking okay. And I thought, as I often do, as I'm put the headphones on and spend an hour cutting the grass, I think about work. And I'm fond of these analogies. I wonder if our clients with their transportation systems have a set schedule of activities, maintenance activities, essentially, of, hey, it's fall, it's time to rake up the dead grass, it's time to scarify the lawn, it's time to aerate the lawn, it's time to fertilize, overseed, all of that stuff to get it prepared for next season. Do you think our shippers have that? Do you think that they're looking ahead to like next year's peak season or even this peak season, which is probably we're in the thick of it right now? Do you think they plan ahead like that for, system maintenance and getting things prepared for next season?
From a systems maintenance perspective, I'm not convinced that they have the time or knowledge to do it effectively.
I'm
It's
I'm not convinced either.
yeah. I mean, just from a technical perspective at this point, with everything in the cloud, the vendor is taking care of making sure the data is being archived and the system, the latest greatest patches are, but that's not, I think, the true value. We can make the system run, but I think truly understanding the fuel of the system, right? And I feel think of fuel being the data. I think that's probably the gap that we run into, where everybody just assumes the fuel is all good, or until they assume that it ain't good and it's just terrible,
And
right?
then it's
And we can't
broken.
trust the system anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. My grass is patchy and in some places, but overall, I think I can work with that. But I would suspect that some clients, or at least what we see or what we hear, is a panic where we get calls, we get approached by clients where they've used a TMS for 5 years or 10 years and nobody knows a thing about it. And they say, we want a new TMS. And that just kills me sometimes to hear these clients talk about their investment, things that they've invested millions, if not tens of millions of dollars into, and just being okay with walking away from them because either A, they don't know what they have and they don't know its true capabilities, or B, they don't know how to take care of it and make it work for them. And
Yep.
I want to say, I want to reach through the computer and say, just listen, just listen. There's no magic to it. It's data in, data out, garbage in, garbage out. We've been saying the same things as consultants for 30 years, right? We've used that terminology for a long time and it's still true today. It's all about the data. If you put garbage data in, you're going to get garbage solution out. It is a functional box, and that function is whatever you give me, I'm going to optimize it for the objective function, and I'm going to spit out the best results that are optimal given what you gave me. And I just feel like we need to have clients take a mindset and take a personal investment. Like before I had a house with a lawn, I didn't know anything about overseeding and aeration and scarification. And I didn't know anything. I invested my time. I said, I invested my money to put this new lawn in, and I need to take care of it. And that means I have to know some things that I don't know today. And I want clients to be that self sufficient too. But I think sometimes it becomes too big, right? It's a big TMS, it's multi org, it's a global system, it's a global organization. And there's a lot of friction and complexity that comes as a byproduct of that. So I think helping clients break those things down and come up with a schedule of, here are your fall maintenance activities for your TMS. Like, hey, it's 8 o'clock. Do you know where your kid is? That type of warning, just as a constant reminder for our shippers to update their master data, keep their rates current. If you need to look at how your freight accruals or your account codes are mapped to the correct general ledgers, do so. Make sure somebody knows what switches and flips and dials and knobs to pull when your business changes or when a new acquisition gets pulled into your organization. this is the gap that we struggle with. And I think clients struggle in answering, how do we solve this problem? It seems like an impossibility to them. How do you
And
break it down?
yeah, I would take slightly contrarian perspective on this just because
Oh, it's so like you.
over the 30 years, the number of shippers that I think are really good at master data management, at ensuring processes, at doing organizational, I can count on one hand, right? It's very, very small. So
Agreed.
if the competency of a typical shipper just does not support, as much as we talk about this, if ultimately they cannot put in together processes, people, and technology to manage these systems, maybe it's incumbent upon either the tech vendors or third-party consultants like JBF to help the clients, because you're right. We see this, we call it the immediate decay of the application upon go live. Yeah. Right after upon go live, all the eyes go to the CRM implementation or the ERP implementation that's happening. And we turn it over to the user community, and inevitably that leads to a degradation of overall solution quality, loss and trust of the system. The system doesn't work, then they call JBF, hey, we need new TMS. That's probably not, and sometimes they do need a new TMS because they didn't do the due diligence and they bought the wrong TMS, and that happens too. But for the most part, that's not really the overall issue. It's the underlying data governance and process management and things along those lines that are inhibiting. And the reason I'm contrarian, Brad, is I completely agree with what you said, but I don't think the shippers, they've proven, even monstrous $50 billion companies have proven that they can't do this. So can we? And we do talk a lot about AI right now, and this is an interesting use case for AI. The ability for AI to start going through, and maybe it's not even AI, maybe it's just analytics, but the ability for a log tech vendor to go back through and start looking for signs of decay. How often are my planners overriding the solution? Right? How often are data coming in that are failing for one reason or another? And then we can just kind of chart these things out. And the AI component would actually be self-correction, right? So if this date comes in and the delivery date is before the pickup date, do we have the ability to do some level of self-correction and things along those lines? If we see common practices in terms of how planners are overriding the system because the wrong carrier is being selected, can we update the routing guide? Things like that, I think, would be really, really interesting. But the very first thing we need to do is be able to measure. Well, first off, identify the areas that show the symptoms of a bad system, right? So what are those measurements, right? And back in the day, Brad, orders would fail coming into the TMS system because the locations weren't set. Things along those lines, right? Foreign key issues and things like that. I think we're more sophisticated right now, but let's measure those. Let's understand how we are trending over time, and let's put in processes to mitigate against the issues that we're running into. And again, I just think, as much as we talk about this during the implementation, and our organization is actually going to have master data management people and other people that are going to be able to, they should. And as much as we recommend it, I just see that they aren't. So there is a gap, and maybe we just can't count on the shippers to do it. Maybe JBF needs to fill this gap, or a combination of us as well as the log tech providers. They know their application. They should be able to identify when things are not working the way that they should be working.
Can I geek out here just for a second? You'll appreciate this little geek out trip down memory lane. You made me think of back in the day, in the Manugistics days, I'm sure you recall the ARM event table.
Yeah.
Right? And as a consultant, we had to know a lot about the ARM event table because I think you designed it. You probably coded it too, and it was always breaking. Thanks a lot, Mike Mulqueen.
What did it stand for?
Asynchronous Response Manager.
Yeah, very good.
Yes. And so as a consultant, we would get these clients and we'd have to go in and do diagnosis of, why isn't the TMS working the way it was when we went live? We got throughput problems, whatever, solution quality, runtime, whatever. And the first thing we would look at is, okay, let's look at the ARM event table, because it was always like the root cause of every problem, it seemed. And, we would have these scripts, like these tools, and we would run all these scripts and it would pull like, okay, give us all the details from the ARM event table. Let's look at all these log and debugs. Let's put together a picture of overall system or database schema health so that we can try to trap certain issues or at least put us in the direction of we think this is the core problem. Let's address these issues. Okay, you're not cleaning up your ARM event table, first of all. And then let's go beyond that. Why is it getting clogged up in the first place? And then, it's essentially just a natural triage diagnosis. But I think clients are missing those tools. And I think that it's a fallacy to rely upon the software vendor to give them those tools because they're not sellable, commerciable, tangible things, right? There's no ARR in those
Yeah.
troubleshooting tools.
Yeah, yeah. And I get your point, and being in software for a long time, it is hard to sell this because the software guys are never going to tell you about the decay of the application after you do the implementation, right?
Right.
But there are symptoms, and we know, and you could just doing the implementation work, you would understand the symptoms of the ARM just getting queued up and the inability to process as quickly as you wanted to, right? But it still feels, and maybe it's just part of our implementation approach and how we not just focus on operational KPIs, but system KPIs, right?
That's right.
How often are we running into specific issues? How often is the carrier being overwritten? Again, I think we would know enough, or I think we definitely know enough about the symptoms of a poorly used system or a poorly maintained system, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest, especially if there's any optimization involved, is if the optimization is completely ripped apart by the planners after the optimization complete. That's the biggest red flag that we see. And especially for any kind of complex optimization, that's what the ROI was built off of. The ROI, when we're selling this to the CFO, it's because we're going to do a better planning. We're going to build multi-stop truckloads. We're going to optimally use cross stocks and pool distribution. And we're going to do mode selection. And we're going to push more stuff over to intermodal carrier, blah, blah, blah. All the different things that we talk about as we build out our business analysis pieces. But unfortunately, if the system does require maybe not pristine data, but pretty darn close to pristine data to make these decisions correctly.
Yeah.
So
I like your AI idea as well. And it made me think of another funny analogy. I have the disposition to overthink my fantasy football starting lineup all the time, right? If the AI was smart enough to know me based on my years of history of always swapping out Lamar Jackson if he has a bad matchup, can't the AI at this point, Mike, tell me, hey, Brad, dummy, leave Lamar Jackson in because he's going to score 40 points, and I should have known all along that, to just leave him in. I think AI should help shippers in the same way. That's essentially the concept that you're throwing out there.
And right now, I think that's the evolution, right? We're not there yet, right? The evolution right now is, or where I think we're at right now is from an AI perspective, it's mostly chatbots. That's what I'm really seeing, right? The ability to ask a question and then get a response back, looking at, your data, kind of building out a large language model, perhaps even going out to external data sources and providing insights back in. What I think the next generation is not only identifying opportunities, but helping operationalize those activities within the TMS, right? So, oh my gosh, you know what? We should have been using JB Hunt Intermodal on these particular lanes over the last month. And if we would have saved $37,000. That's a great report. Thanks for telling me I should have saved $37,000 and I'm not doing my freaking job. How about now the AI says, would you like to operationalize this suggestion? Right. And then the ability for the user to say, yes, I want to do that on these 3 lanes. And then it automatically goes in and reconfigures the application. So the next time an order comes in, it can actually do it. So that's the next level for me. I just saw a really cool AI demo from LoadSmart this morning. And it was hitting that first piece, right? You pass in all the shipment information. It's telling you all of these awesome insights. It's comparing your rates against market rates and against, contract market and spot market. It's showing you where potentially there are opportunities to do mode shifting. Primarily, it was intermodal to truckload. Really, really, really cool stuff. And it's the next layer, right? So typically, we always talk about the different types of analytics being, what we typically see within a TMS is descriptive analytics. This is the accept decline rate. This is my cost per mile. This is, all these different pieces. LoadSmart has gotten to the point of doing prescriptive analytics. The next stage for me would be operationalizing the recommendations, perhaps after a manual review, perhaps not even after a manual review in a few years, right? Right. But after that manual review, say, yes, I would like to operationalize this. And with a click of a button, it then makes it so that the next time the event occurs, it does the recommended path. So I'm cautiously bullish. Even the AI stuff right now, that's the chatbot stuff, it's adding a ton of value. And we're using this internally, Brad. We've been piloting this for a while, and we're going to continue using it. And it's great at data retrieval and things like that. But the next generation for me is being able to find insights and then operationalize the recommendations based on the insights. So,
excellent topic. Good stuff, Mike. Good to see you as always. Thank you.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Until next time. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, Mike, are you going to do the Irish exit thing again?
I was about to, just because I'm on a 3:00 meeting.
Okay.